So I don't think I've ever shared this with you, because when I was almost 300, I went on this, went to one of those weight loss places, and you're gonna die when you hear this, because I don't think you know this. So I was eating like, I don't know how many calories a day, plus drinking with all the alcohol. So who knows where I was? Maybe 10,000 calories a day. I don't know what the number was.
Okay.
They put me on a diet, 800 calories a day.
Oh my God.
No sugar, no dairy, no carbs.
Oh my God.
I was a beast.
Did you want to kill someone?
Every day. Like, I almost ripped the ceiling down.
Do you know what
my
that
poor
does to your
ex-wife, like,
liver?
I remember one day, I
No,
was
that's
like,
terrible.
So I remember,
Oh my God.
yeah, I got, and I lost 50 pounds, right?
Sure,
So
but then you found him.
and then I got stuck there, and then they were like, oh, you got to go into ketosis? Is that what it's?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I mean,
don't-
I know the ketogenic diet and ketosis and all that,
but I couldn't, once I got there, and I got down to, I remember getting on the scale, as everything was about the scale. And now, like you said to me, throw the scale out, because I'm 218 pounds, 220, and I'm wearing the same jeans I was at 200, but I'm in such better shape now because so it doesn't, it's how things fit, right?
I go by the jeans. If I can put my jeans on standing up or whatever, you know, I mean, what else matters? Like, how did people evaluate their self-esteem before we had the stupid scale? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like the most ridiculous thing ever.
It's incredible.
And I feel like these things have, you know, between calorie counting and the scale, this has caused more dysfunctional relationships with food in the body, eating disorders, than anything in human history.
Right.
I mean, this is crazy. And you're a guy, but I just have to say, with women, it's even much harder, because I feel like with us, it's like it's much more of our identity, and this is what we're bringing to the table.
Right.
So if we're not a certain whatever size or this or that, it really impacts people.
That's incredible.
And
their mind, everything. Yeah.
Everything, but their whole, like, feeling like their self-worth and
their
all
self-worth.
of that.
I honestly, I actually felt that way too. As much as I'm a pretty confident man, and I carried to almost 300 pounds, I guess, as best you could. But I remember, we talked off air, and you said something about, could you even see your man parts? And I was like, man, that was questionable. It was, and it was questionable. And I used to look at myself in the mirror and be like,
I'm like, come on,
well,
where did it go? I'm not a guy, but
I don't look so good. But then I would turn away and be like, you know what? Then I would trick myself and be like, oh, it's the mirror, or oh, it's like, and I'm like, oh God, this is embarrassing. Like, now looking back on it, I just didn't want to deal. Like, I guess, you know, I was in a place where I was just like so money driven, and I was surrounded by guys that were
all the same, basically.
Yeah, we were all big dudes, and eating, drinking, and making lots of money was like what we were supposed to do.
Well, I think that speaks to a very good message, which is to be around the people that you want to emulate and hang with, and this definitely changes over time as we keep evolving.
Yeah, and I do want to bring this into it, because I think about the medicines that some people have to take for anxiety or for whatever else they're dealing with, and I feel like sometimes it's overboard. I believe that that we don't bring the power of faith back into it, because I wanted to share this. I said off air I wanted to wait for this, because I didn't know I had anxiety, because I always drank through the anxiety, and here's one thing about me. I never had hangovers, never. Like, and if I had a hangover, I didn't even really know. I'd be like, all right, whatever. Like, you have another drink and then you're good, and then it repeats. Yeah, never had a hangover, never threw up from drinking. If I did, maybe once in college, I don't remember. I had like this wooden leg syndrome, and again, I love to win. So like, if we were drinking, I was gonna drink, right? So once I stopped drinking and that came out of my system, I wake up every morning over the last 3 years, and I didn't know it, but I had bad anxiety. And I'm just against all medicines now because of what I did to myself with the opioids. And I think that it's so easy for the doctors to say, okay, here, try this. instead of being like, let's try something naturally. So
well, this is getting back to the gut, excuse me, but 95% of serotonin and 50% of dopamine are all produced by the hormones in our gut, neurotransmitters. Yeah. So yeah.
And I also believe, and I'm going to share this with you, and I share this with everybody on the podcast. 4 weeks ago, I finally said, I woke up one morning and I was like, and I had a bunch of people talk to me about the power of prayer and all that stuff. And I finally said, this is it. I surrender it up to God. Please, every night before I go to bed and every morning when I wake up, in case I feel that feeling, I guess it does start in your gut and then it goes to your brain and then that causes all that anxiety. I ask for his, forgiveness and please take this away from me. And over the last 4 weeks, I haven't had any anxiety, and with all the stuff going on in my life. So I think there's a combination of, there's a lot of great things we can do naturally and also teach our brain the right way to do things.
Well, I always like to say it's a bottom-up, top-down approach. Yeah. So in other words, we know there's tons of research out there now that there's inflammation in the brain actually going on that can definitely be part of all of these mood issues. And there's no question that, tamping down your inflammation in your body is going to help. But on the other hand, there's someone I follow all the time myself on all of his interviews, which is Gabor Mate, which always talks about trauma. And I think that many of us have had it stored, in our bodies. I myself, I have struggled with anxiety since I'm like 10 years old.
Thank you for sharing.
Well, I mean, again, and I have tried everything, and it's definitely better. So what I do is, I put this sign up, and I do feel like it helps on my desk, and this is what it says: I am safe in this moment. The more we can just bring it, I feel like it gives us nutso is do all the stuff that happened that I did that I'm ruminating over this or all the stuff tomorrow. Yeah. But when I really think about it, am I okay right now? I mean, I have food, I have a home, or whatever, you know what I mean? Right this second. It is a struggle, and that's where I do, as much as I am also on social media, but I think just like the food, we have overwhelming amount of information out there, and we really need to be mindful of what we're putting in here. Right. The stuff we're scrolling on, the stuff you're listening to. I mean, I love listening to research and other practitioners and things like that, just to see what everyone else is doing and thinking.
Great point, because like we said earlier, the instant gratification, and also the amount of times that we scroll through that thing, before I know it, I'm like, I just wasted 15 minutes of my life, and I was scrolling, and it just zips into your brain, right? And then I say this all the time on the podcast. I say, when you live in the past, you live in anger. Yeah. When you live in the future, you live in fear. And we have a hard time living in the moment. And that's the other thing I've been really working hard on over the last year, is to try to live in the moment.
That's what I'm saying, but it is.
That's what it's not easy.
That's what I was telling you. The other thing I started in the past year and a half was journaling every morning. And just doing a gratitude practice every day, because you said how the instant gratification, but the fact is, when we think about what happens to people when they win the lottery, most of them, the majority of them, end up suicidal, practically giving away all their money and all that. Yes, Again, it's the journey, it's all of the hard stuff that seems like, why am I here? Yep. You really don't want to win the lottery. No. You don't want to just lose. If you had just lost 100 pounds like that, you wouldn't have known what to do.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Truth.
You think so?
No, absolutely.
But when you go on and you see all these images, it looks like, oh, that's so easy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that was a great analogy, because I remember when I was little, I was like, I want to win the lottery. I'm like, now that I'm 52 and I
don't even play the lottery.
Me neither.
Well, I was married to a gambling addict. I will share that. So,
thank you. And
okay.
I did that too. I was a gambler. Well, I had all the vices.
Which
Bonni.
I would tell you is, I think personally that gambling is maybe the worst, only because, well, at least for you, this didn't work out. I mean, there's only so much alcohol and drugs you're going to take before you pass out, or die exactly. Yeah. But with gambling,
until you run out of all the
Whatever money, or someone kills you because you didn't pay
you didn't pay. Right. Which I've done that too. I've ran out of money because even when I've been in Vegas and I set aside, when I was rolling in the money, I'd wire out 20,000, and there'd be times I'd lose 20,000 and be like, let me just borrow 5,000. Like I can't. I'm just, of course.
But it's the same chemicals that go through the body. They say. I mean, it's like it's the same thing. Yeah. So I totally get it. It's like Jekyll and Hyde. Yeah. Jekyll and Hyde is the way I would describe the personality.
Absolutely. It's the same thing with drinking. People get to a certain point and they're really, really happy, and all of a sudden the switch turns off, and then they become arrogant assholes. And you're like, wait, what happened there? What happened? Wait, where did that person go? And it's the same thing. I don't know. There's, I think all of it, and I've lived it my whole life. And I went to Wall Street because in my mind that was legalized gambling. Right. Because it truly is. Yes, it is. It's legalized gambling. Have an edge? I do, because of what I do, and when things are good, it's great, and when things are bad, they're bad. Like that. But that's the life I wanted to live. But it is technically legalized gambling, because you look up and you look, and basically, where did my money go today? Was it up? Was it down? It's the same thing. So
it's enough to make you nuts.
Enough to make you nuts.
Well, it is. It's your self-esteem, your self-worth. Like I always say, when people come and weigh themselves on the scale, I'm like, this is how I always feel about, peeking into my bank account. I always get,
it's truth.
I'm always like one eye, then the other eye. Like,
well,
you know what I mean?
Here's the funny story about the scale. Ready for this? So when I went to that weight loss place, and I was pretty much forced, because my ex-wife, again, sorry that she had to deal. So this is up
in Connecticut, right?
Yeah, Jersey. So when I had to deal with that, because I was bringing the house down with snoring, sleep apnea, and on top of all that, nobody could sleep in the house. So I remember getting on the scale, and I saw a 2, I saw a 9, and then I jumped off. So that I know I still had a 2 handle on it because it didn't have 3 on it. But I was probably closer to 299 than I was 290. Right. But I look back and I'm like, I don't ever remember what that last number was, because I was so big. And I just couldn't believe that I was even near, because I would look myself in the mirror and be like, I'm probably I never weighed myself. So I was like, oh, well, I have these jeans. But, after a while, those jeans stretch a little bit too. Now they make the stretchy jeans so you can, wear them, and then you don't have to wash them. So, and I'm like, I'm probably like 270, 275, and I jumped on, I saw 29, and I was like, oh my goodness gracious, this is bad.
It's called a reality check.
Yeah, it is. It was pretty scary. And pretty funny.
Well, good for you for, Thank
you. Thank you for that. But no, thank you for doing what you've done for us and all the other people that you are helping and gonna help, because you work so hard at this. And like I said, I don't know how you have the time to do a podcast to help people the way you do, and are so obsessed with wanting to make this thing better, because we're fighting an uphill battle. We're in the minority right now. Let's just say that.
Right. Well, at the moment, I don't have a big platform, but what gets me through is I really focus on patient to patient, and it's like, I help this person. Like that person is living a better life now because we met and this happened, and then I think, what else would I possibly want to do with my life?
There's not enough money.
To me, there's no, right. Like, even if I had all the money in the world, I would still be doing this, because to me, like it's an honor. It is an honor to have people come and see me, to trust me, with their health, and giving them suggestions, and then
at the end of it, isn't it an awesome feeling when people say thank you? Like, they just say thank you for your help. Like, you think about it and you're like, all the time, all the effort, and when they come back and they're really grateful for what's going on. Like, I think, again, me being in the world of Wall Street, it's a really it's a selfish place. As much as there's wealth management guys that want to help you manage your money and do all this stuff, they're still making money off of your money, right? Like, sure. So this is something, obviously you get paid to do what you do, but you're really, really helping somebody get better, get healthy, which, again, doesn't matter how much money you have, because you could have $100 million, and if you're sick, you can't. What can you do with it?
Yes, and I work with a lot of people who have been very successful, but they, they were very cerebral and didn't take care of their bodies.
Yeah.
So I mean, if we end today at any, I would say that if anything, is the time to start taking care of yourself is now. You know how many people come to see me 7 years old? I never had a problem until I got cancer. No, okay, you cancer comes for like 10, 15 years. Heart disease could be 10, 15. That's why I have really dived into doing all of these in-depth functional lab testing, because we want to get in on this stuff before something catastrophe happens.
Right.
You know,
Catch
the first sign of a heart attack is still death. Right? I mean, a heart attack, not heart disease, rather.
Yeah.
So you really don't want to wait, and it's still the number one killer. So the point is, if I would say anything that to me is the most important, is like, if you are feeling good right now, fantastic.
Right.
But you definitely got to look into it, and your diet and exercise and lifestyle, sleeping. Sleeping is a huge thing.
Can we talk quickly about that? Because
sure, absolutely.
I used to work out, and again, thanks to my wife, thanks to you, but like, she's psychotic about this. 8-9 hours, like 8-9 hours. 7 is like not even good, and I used to work off at 3 or 4.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Well, let me just say, I describe sleep to people that come to me. I say, I used to think it was like the trifecta, like sleep, exercise, and diet. I really believe actually sleep is foundation. Do you know where you lose fat when you're sleeping, and you gain muscle? You do not gain muscle in the gym. Okay? When you're at the gym, you're making microscopic tears.
Right.
Okay, I mean, obviously we all know Tom Brady, and I love telling people this. So, because I read his book, and I loved that. To me, he takes like the 1% of every single thing and put it together, and that's why he was so successful. Right. But he had an agreement with Under Armour for sleep gear, because it was called recovery gear. It was called recovery gear because that's how important this was, just to give him that edge. I just had this athlete come to me last week who's like a prima ballerina. And, I worked with athletes, right, at IMG, but I always talk about the sleep. But I always talk about the sleep. They say that is the most important, like, sports supplement that you can take. And then we know, like Alzheimer's, they discovered that we have the system in our brain called the glymphatic system, of where we detox. So if you're not doing this when you're sleeping, this increases your risk for all Alzheimer's, dementia, and things like that.
Incredible.
But just like you, I never had the 3-4 hours, but when I was like in my 20s and I lived in New York City, and I would club until 4 o'clock and go, and
show up
and then go to work at like 6 a.m. or something. And no, I feel like, and then when I was in school, I was in school at night at NYU, and I worked at Equinox as a trainer at 5 a.m. I never slept. No. Yeah. There was no time. I was studying, and then,
Yeah, that's crazy.
like, but that was normal.
That was normal.
But it was normal. But now I am also militant.
Yes.
I am militant. I am in bed for like a good 8 hours,
What time do you usually go to bed?
By 9. Because I get up at 5, so I can do like all my stuff. Like this is like my time where I do the sauna, the journaling. I go to the gym, and it's like I feel like it's so worth it to have my time. Like, I set up my day. Like, what is the most important thing I need to accomplish today, and what is it that I need to know? Like, I really am mindful about all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the day is about everyone else.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Your time, and then everybody else.
Yes, but then because like you were saying, yes, we want to help other people, and to me, I feel like being a mother and everything, it's actually hard, because you have to also realize you can't give what you don't have.
True.
Which is still a hard one, right? So if you're not taking care of yourself, feeding yourself, do whatever you need to do, how are you, giving it to someone else?
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's funny, back to my weight loss, and now being down here, living in Southwest Florida, I think my kids see that too, with the no drinking, obviously, everything's out in the open now. So like, I think they saw the transformation, and I'm watching my kids kind of see that as a super positive, and they're doing less of the drinking, less of the smoking weed, or not doing it at all anymore. Like it was all around us. It was just there. And now I'm so proud of every one of them. But I think me making changes has also had them make changes for the good.
Well, sure. To me, the message is that, we can always transform. Like you're not stuck in who you were. Like you can constantly decide that you want to be this other version of yourself, right?
I think here's the other thing too about, I hate the word diet, but like when you go to make the transformation, right? When they get to that point and they're like, oh, okay, I'm good now. People just quit. Like they don't, this is for life.
Yes.
That's what people don't get.
Yes.
Like you take them to the promised land and you get them there and they pay all this money and they do everything. And then after they get there, and all of a sudden they start falling back into their old habits. This is like, that's one of the biggest problems with, I feel like, human life.
Well, because it's a slippery slope. I will share, I had a client today, very successful, lost like 30, 40 pounds, I don't know. And now it's been a few years, and he, as he said, he found them. And, but now I'm actually going to be offering something a little different in my practice to help bridge that, just for people to check in. I feel the people who have been the most successful long-term come in every 3-4 months. Because I think just knowing that they're going to come in and hear it from me or whatever, it's like in the back of their mind, because yes, this is for life. Like I eat and live the way I tell people to get to there, but this is to maintain.
Right.
I mean, that is what it is. And they think, oh, I still look good. I can eat a few of this. I gained a few pounds. Big friggin' deal. But then it's a slippery slope. And then you start feeling bad, and then you eat more. No, I mean, I see it all the time. It happens all the time. And the thing is, when people lose the weight, like I'm sure when you lost the weight that time, because I always ask people, when people are done, quote unquote, this is it, you're not going back, oh yeah, no. But then you have to wonder, who is the 90% of people who gain back everything? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that isn't what I want to do in my practice at all. Like I try to make it not like a diet, like it should go with your natural life and not so strict. So,
but I think it goes with the people that you hang around with too. I think it makes it a lot, like you said to me, wasn't it nice that Lori stopped drinking it made things a lot easier. If you do the same thing with the food and the diet, and then you're around people that are eating shitty food.
Well, there's research on this, that if you have an obese friend, you're like 57% more likely to be obese yourself or something. Yeah. Don't quote me on the numbers, but I'm just saying. And in fact, I've done multiple videos on this actually. And in my book, I wrote about it too, about the environment. When people come and see me, the very first thing I talk about before I talk about what to eat or anything is setting up your environment for success. If you were going back into that bar, come on, it's impossible, right? So like if the family isn't on board, we want to cause friction between those habits we're trying to stop. Right. Like I don't have willpower, I don't have the chips and the cookies, I have nothing in the house actually, to be honest with you. Right. And when I had kids, we'd have one box and it would be whatever, you know what I mean? Like I thought about it. And then the stuff we want to make happen, I always say we want to make it easy. Like planning ahead, you're going out to eat, great. Look at the menu ahead of time so you can already have it in your head of what's going to happen.
I never even thought of that. I never do that.
Well, I have people do that. I mean, whatever it has to take. You're going to just not have the bread this time? Yeah. Okay, we got to have a strategy here, people. You know what I mean? Because you
I
go
can't.
in
I'm not
doing the
allowed.
same thing.
I'm not allowed to have the bread. Lori won't even let the people bring it down. I'm
Well,
like,
see,
bread.
if you don't have it on the table,
That's exactly it.
that's perfect.
That's it. Don't bring it. And
Well,
I'm
she's fantastic.
Yeah,
No,
she's-
it's the best.
It's the best.
It's the best.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. No, I really, really do appreciate, and all my listeners will appreciate this. This has been one. I mean, we could talk for days, and I know because you're not only. I mean, we barely touched the surface, but it's
Never
a
been
great,
an issue for me to talk.
No, she's awesome at it because she knows her stuff. And that's one of the reasons why we love her, Lori and I, because she's fantastic. She cares. That's the most important thing. She cares about what she's doing. She cares about the people. So I can't thank you enough for coming on today.
Well, thank you for having me.
It was a great, I mean, I'm going to have you back because there's so many other things that we can talk about. We didn't even get into the protein and all the other stuff, but like I want to have you back, please. So, and you will come back.
Of course.
Great.
Now I know where you live.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course. But this is how we chop it up. I told you it's very relaxed and simple and easy, and you did thank you for coming, especially on a Saturday. But anyways, listeners, thank you once again for listening. What a wonderful afternoon we had. Bonni is an amazing person that actually would help anybody. So please go to her website.
It's londonwellness.net.
londonwellness.net.
Or you could email, which is probably better, Bonni, Bonni, no E, at londonwellness.net. And I offer like a discovery call so that, we can talk about what's going on with you and maybe how I could help.
Yeah. And then also her podcast.
Yes, Healthy Rebel Speaks Out.
And it's getting bigger. Trust me, just like Kaizencast, I mean, we're not huge here either. So we're doing this journey together. It's growing.
Because we don't want to just win the lottery, like I said. We
no.
have to grow slowly.
And that's what I've learned from the
You
young
like
guys.
that?
Yeah, it's truth. It's truth. Because if we're helping one person a day, that's way better than what I was doing before this. So, and I think you're well on your way. So thank you guys once again. Please continue to listen and follow, and God bless.